One more thing, we're going to be, I want to talk about wrapping up well. So Charlotte's already mentioned timekeeping and how important that is. But if you, as a facilitator, want your participants to be able to think through, remember back to this conversation in a meaningful kind of way, throughout the week, you need, like, it's important to help them wrap up well. And there are two ways you can do this. So the first way is a reflection on the content, and the second way is a reflection on the process. So if you really want people to be remembering something about what happened, or the story that they told, or what question are they going to take with them into the next week, it's important to reflect on content. If you're having a little bit of a, like, things aren't going quite as well as you want them to, sometimes it's really, really helpful for the group to think about how their time went together, right? Okay, so if I want to talk about content, here are some things you can do. It's the opportunity to, like, gather the pearls. This is, spiritual directors are trained to do this. Like, at the end of your spiritual direction session, they'll say, okay, like, what is the, like, what did you take away from our conversation today? Did you hear God speak? Did you meet Jesus in our conversation today? Where was there light in the Holy Spirit? Those are all questions my spiritual director asks me every time we meet. And this is more about remembering it, because you know what? The only thing I remember from my spiritual direction session was the thing that I said to my spiritual director at the end. Like, it helps me process what happened and to take with me through the next month until I get there again, that really important thing. And so this is what we're inviting your participants to do when you focus on a checkout question that is about content. Or if you need it to be about process, you could do something like say one word that reflects how you feel about this conversation. You could ask, when did this group have a lot of energy? Or what did you notice about our time together? And that can be a really great place to just use I notice, non-judgmental or pejorative language about how the process is going.
And you can combine the two sometimes as well. I had a group that was very much in their head. And so for the first 3 weeks that we met, I always ended on a process question. How did you feel? What was the one word that you felt about this? And then I would have them write it down. And then I would say, this after the first week, I would then say, is there a thing that we talked about that makes you feel this way? So I tried to connect the two, but I really was trying to get them into their feelings and not the book learning. Although the book learning was important and was scaffolding and they were interested in it, I wanted them more to be comfortable with themselves. So we did a combination. And always end with process questions. That's probably okay too.
Oh, yeah. And this is like part of claiming your authority as a facilitator. Like, if you feel like your group needs one or the other and the curriculum in front of you has a different one, just ignore it. It's fine. like you ask the question that's going to help the context of your own group sing. Like, that's like, and as you do it more and more, like, the more you facilitate, the better you'll get a feel for it. And then the next thing you know, you won't even be thinking about it. You'll just be naturally making it happen.
Whichever one you choose, whether you choose a content checkout question or a process checkout question, just make sure you do one or the other and make it clear that this is gathering our time up together so that we can leave well, because that's a vital piece of the small group. It's sort of, to me, it's like what stays in small groups, like what is said in the small group stays in the small group. You also need to, in order for that to happen, you need to have the small group stay a small group. It can't bleed over into choir practice. You personally might be going from one to the next, but you want the time to be bounded well. So,
yeah, because if you can't, the other thing is, if you haven't properly closed the conversation, it's really difficult to open it up well next week, because it'll feel like it's kind of hanging. And so some real intentionality around, okay, we're closing our time together. this was a gift, right? Like usually people have really profound things to say. This was a gift of our time together. And now we can go out into the world after worship. We can, and it allows you to worship then too. Like it allows you to say like, okay, now we're moving into worship. And from worship, you can move back out into the world.